Alrighty, welcome back to another video. We are continuing the power ranking series. To be completely honest, there's really not much to dilly-dally around for, so we're going to jump right on in. And at number 12, I have the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Indianapolis Colts have been a very good roster for a few years now. They had a very good draft class a few years ago, and it's only been good since then. They've just had good draft class after good draft class. A team with a crap ton of talent, but they have not been able to put it together at the quarterbacking position. It's been a problem for quite a few teams in the league over the past few years, but with all the shifting of quarterbacks over the last offseason, a lot of those teams got to pick up their guy. And I gotta say, Colts were one of them. I think that trading for Matt Ryan was an extremely underrated move this offseason. They got him cheap. He's only he's only a few years away from winning MVP. He just won MVP a few years ago, and had a ticket to the Super Bowl where they lost, but that was probably one of the best Super Bowls I have ever seen in my lifetime. It went down. They led by like 24 at half, I think. You could correct me if I'm wrong. And the Patriots just came from behind, and they slowly chipped away at that lead. And it's not like, that it was all Patriots going through the second half. No, it was a slow climb back into the lead, and the Patriots got it done. They beat the Falcons in a very heartbreaking game, and ever since then, the Falcons have not been able to put it back together. And it's nice to see Matt Ryan get out of there, because the Falcons are in full rebuild, and it would be just a shame to see Matt Ryan waste the few years of juice he's got left in the middle of a rebuild. So, yeah, the Colts got him for pretty cheap. They traded away Carson Wentz, who had a horrible season with them last year. Carson Wentz, they would have done so much better if they had like Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I don't want to say that, but he had a horrible team. A horrible season. He really held back the Colts last year, and they actually ended up getting value back for him while getting Matt Ryan for very cheap. It was an amazing move. Very happy to see it work out that way for the Colts, because they do have very good roster to complement Matt Ryan. They brought back, they had another team that had a big contract year, and they were able to re-sign their core. They were able to re-sign a lot of very good players. They got Jonathan Taylor coming back for another year. Jonathan Taylor was a monster last year. He was the best running back in football. The dude was just a straight wrecking ball. I mean, there's nothing to be said about him. I don't really know if he's going to have the season he had last year. It's hard for guys to do that twice. But, if he does, then we're going to be talking about him for some time. I mean, he is a very, very good running back. And now that he has a very good quarterback, they've had a good receiver room. They've had an amazing top-tier offensive line, great defense, and they're only better with Matt Ryan on this team now. So, that caps off the Indianapolis Colts for me. Now, at number 13, I have the Miami Dolphins. Now, this might be a long one. I am a Dolphins fan. If you can't see, I have a Dan Marino helmet. You can't really see it, but it's a signed Dan Marino helmet over the sides. I have a whole shrine to him on that bookshelf there. Most of it's hidden by the camera angle, but I am a very big Dolphins fan, and I've been following them very closely this offseason. I'm going to be breaking down probably every single game this offseason, this season. I think they have a crap ton of potential. You might call me biased for having them at 13, but I've noticed a lot of people have them ranked a lot lower, and I think this offense, it has too much talent to be ranked really too much lower than number 13. I think they could be a quick riser this year. I don't know if they're really going to be they have a lot of questions. There is a lot of questions surrounding this team. I mean, they just lost a first-round pick in the whole debacle with Tom Brady and Sean Payton and interfering with it was some dirty stuff that Stephen Ross did this offseason, and it cost the team a first round pick going into next year, which is very sad to see. They're coming off one of the weirdest seasons I have ever seen in football. They started the year 1-7, and then they went on a 7-game winning streak, where their defense flipped from being probably the worst defense in the league to a top 4 defense in the league through that time period. They don't have Brian Flores coming back. Brian Flores was fired this offseason. This is a move I questioned at first, but I do stand behind it because in Brian Flores' 3 years with the Dolphins, he was never able to put an offense together. He was never able to stand behind any of his coaching hires on the offensive side of the ball. I do believe that he is one of the brightest minds on the defensive end of the football. I was sad to see him go back to the position he started with at linebacking coach. I would like to see him get a defensive coordinating coach someday, defensive coordinating position someday, because he deserves it. He is that good. He is that smart when it comes to that side of the football. But the Dolphins learned that he is not a head coach. He cannot handle both sides of the football. He cannot hire the right guys for the offensive side of the football. Through his tenure, we had one of the worst offensive lines that has ever seen an NFL field. Especially last year, we had a historically bad offensive line. And there was a whole bunch of off-the-field stuff that happened with them, and I'm going to stick away from that topic, but it was sad to see him go, but it was the best move going forward for the Miami Dolphins, because they, in turn, ended up keeping the entire defense that Brian Flores put together, which, in the later part of last season was a top 4 defense, and in a season ago, he also led one of the best defenses. We brought back the exact same roster on the defensive side of the football. We added a few pieces. We brought in Melvin Ingram. We just signed a big defensive end. We just drafted Channing Tindall. Was we were our biggest hole last year was our middle linebacker position. We didn't really have that run-stopping sideline-to-sideline guy, and now we have that in Channing Tindall. He's a very, very fast middle linebacker. Very, very good tackler. The only questions really going forward with this defense are, Brian Hoyer has the full reins now. That Brian Flores is gone. He doesn't have Brian Flores looking over his shoulder. I don't really know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And Gerald Alexander is also gone. Gerald Alexander had a lot of respect in that locker room, and he left with Brian Flores. So the real question is can our defensive coordinator do the same job that Brian Flores did last year? Can he keep this defense looking the way they did? Also, our depth at the cornerback position. We are very top-heavy at cornerback. We have 2 of the best cornerbacks in the league, but they are known for having a little bit of injury trouble. Byron Jones is out for the first 4 games of the season. Nick Needham's probably going to be the guy stepping up, taking his position. And after that, we have Noah Igbenogany, and I do not like Noah Igbenogany as a player. He was drafted pretty high, and he's kind of been a bit of a bust since then. He didn't have a good training camp. He didn't have a good preseason. And I'm not very happy to see that he's going to be taking a big role in this team this year. I don't really know how we could fix that. Maybe through a mid-season trade, we could try to bring in a little more depth. But other than that, we're going to have to be sticking it out with the cornerbacks we have. Those are the biggest questions on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, we brought in Tyreek Hill. We hired Mike McDaniel, who Mike McDaniel did a wonderful job with hiring coaches. Absolutely wonderful job hiring coaches on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, we brought in Tyreek Hill to go alongside Jalen Waddle. It's going to be a very, very fast wide receiving duo. We brought back Mike Gesicki at tight end. He is one of the better tight ends in the entire league. We rebuilt our offensive line, which was much needed. And there are some questions about Connor Williams at center and bad snaps. I could see that becoming a problem. But to be completely honest, Tua really has no excuses this year. He has no more excuses. If this year does not work out well for Tua, this is a stacked quarterbacking class. It would have been nice to have 2 first-rounders going into this draft class, but we still have 1. And yeah, that's just. I really hope Tua can get it done. This is his job to lose. I believe the guy is very accurate. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad quarterback by any means. I mean, we really don't know that. He has never had any support on the offensive side of the football the entire time he's played for the Dolphins. Now he does have all the support in the world, so I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback in the league, but I think there's going to be. But I hope he's good. If he is at all the reason why we're losing any games this year, his job is probably gone. But I do believe in the kid. I do like his personality. I do like the film that I've seen on him this offseason, this training camp, and I like the way he looked in the preseason. I'm very hopeful for him and this offense. And yeah, this team has a lot of questions, but they have even more potential than they do questions. So that's why they sit at 13 for me. They could move up very, very quickly, or they can move down very quickly. And yeah, that's going to cap off this video for today. I will be coming out with the rest of this tier list, hopefully, today, this power ranking today. Yeah, but thank you for sticking around. Thank you for listening to me ramble about my favorite team, and have a good one.